goodness. Yes. Hello. I am late. So sorry. I am late to my own event. There was a meeting that went long. Long story short, had to rush. It was a lot going on. Anyway, hi, welcome. My name is Asia Arangio. I'm the CEO and founder of Demand Maven. And normally we troubleshoot growth for PLG, SaaS companies all over the world. So if you are stuck on go to market strategy, growth, acquisition, activation, retention, monetization, chances are we can help. But today, at least, well, 15 minutes ago, uh, I've been doing this thing every Monday where basically I live stream. I try SaaS products because I am constantly trying SaaS products. And this is kind of like my little bank of ideas, observations. I do this because it gives me ideas, it exposes me to just new experiences, things I haven't considered, but it also gives me a really nice, just mental UX bank of experiences to be inspired by, including design experiences to be designed by, or to design experiences to be inspired by, I should say. So today we are going to try Segmetrics, and I'm going to be on the little screen today because usually I have two monitors. We're going to be on the little one today, the little baby one, but I got to clean it up because there's a lot going on. Like I said, I was rushing and always a mess. Let's see. Okay, so um, we're just gonna get this started. All right, this looks good. And then we're gonna pull up Chrome because again, I'm not prepared. I apologize, y'all. Especially if you're watching the replay and you're like, let's get it together. But I guess if you're watching the replay, like you can just like skip ahead. You don't have to wait for me. All right. So we're going to pop open Segmetrics and then we are going to start trying it out. So I have, in truth, I've looked at it a few times already, and I actually do have a use case for this. So in my fractional CMO work, one of the projects or things that we've been working on for a while has been improving our overall attribution model. So, of course, like, yes, like, attribution is going the way of the dodo bird in general. Traffic is changing. Pretty much everything we know about the internet and how marketers think about the internet is changing. That's always going to be true. But one of the things that has been really tough for us is even just understanding basic attribution of like where people come from. And when we think about scaling out a marketing function, it's even if we can't get perfect, um, having any data obviously is very useful. And there are some things that we currently use today. So obviously, like we're using like, the typical stuff, GA4, Looker, etc. But we've been having challenges with our marketing automation platform. The marketing automation platform has not been doing the conversion attribution that we thought it would be doing. And so that has made it really, really, really difficult to understand where do our leads actually come from, which basically means that it's really hard to do any type of demand generation planning because, when the CEO comes to me and says, hey, where are our leads going to come from? Here are the goals. I'm basically like, well, we have very big swaths of guesses based on certain like data factors like inside of GA4, but ideally we'd have much better than that. Ideally, like we'd be able to say like, yep, 40% of leads are going to come from SEO, 30% are going to come from ads, and then what else? That's 70%. So 30% will come from whatever partnerships or what have you. And yeah, so all that to say, I actually do have like a genuine use case for Segmetrics. So I'm excited to dig in. All right, I'm going to share screen for all this time instead of just talking, and we're going to get right to it. Share screen, window. And actually, I'm just going to do the tab because I don't want y'all to be overwhelmed by the window. The window is a lot. All right, and this should be, there we go. It took a minute. Okay. Okay, cool. And I'm just going to pull up, not that anybody's here, sad, but some of y'all might be watching the replay, but I am going to still pull up chat because you never know. Okay, cool. All right. Fun. We can dive in. So first thing I'm noticing is, and I think you can see what I'm seeing. Yes, you should be able to see what I'm seeing. I think it's a little slow though. So apologies in advance. I probably could and should close everything. Um, to save a little bit in width because there's just like I said, there's a lot going on. We can close Zoom. Like I said, I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm behind on things. But okay, so Segmetrics. I'm gonna do this in the meantime. And I've heard of Segmetrics. I know the founder, lovely guy. And I it's funny, I remember hearing about Segmetrics what feels like a million years ago now, but it had to have been like 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm pretty sure I got introduced to Segmetrics, like, the brand through Tiny Seed and, like, the microconf crowd, and then later, a client actually used Segmetrics. I remember being impressed, and I was just like, "Oh, that's really cool." And that was, like, 2 or 3 years ago, and then fast forward to now, and now, like, there actually is, like, I actually have, like, a genuine use case now. So now I'm curious how what this experience looks like. But generally speaking, so from my impression of the site, this is my impression of what's here, like, copy-wise. My impression is this is a product that ultimately helps you understand your data. And from my understanding, it's not just attribution, it is also like there's like a data explorer, like to my knowledge, like it's not just acquisition, but there are other things that you can do with Segmetrics. Segmetrics, also like just the brand name to me implies that we are understanding the metrics related to our segments. And that is how we're thinking about all of this. So if I look at the site, um, my first overall impression, and again, it's gonna be a little slow, I think, um, because I probably am killing my computer a little bit bandwidth wise, maybe also CPU wise as well. But yeah, so apologies if it's a little slow or delayed. But my impression is that this feels like a technical product, and that it gives me like a data analyst vibe more so than a this is like it's so interesting because like this eyebrow copy is like can't tell what's working in your marketing. But I don't get the impression immediately that it's for marketers, and I don't know how to explain that. And I think there's something about like the charts, the reports, what's here. Now, to be fair, I think if you're in MOPS or if you're like hardcore demand gen, like this probably does feel like, yep, this is for marketers totally. But I remember when I first like when I revisited it, I remember thinking like, oh, I didn't realize that this is like marketing attribution. For some reason, I thought it was something else, like just based off of like the brand experience. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's me. I bet you that there are marketers out there who are like, they don't get that vibe at all. But I definitely got like a different vibe. Uh, I see people I recognize. So right off the bat, I'm like, okay, I'm probably in the right place. Yeah, like I know Joanna Weeb. Um, there are brands here that I recognize, like ConvertKit, now Kit, I believe is what they're called now. I'm familiar with some of these brands more so like in their names, like Digital Marketer. I know I'm familiar with the AdLeaks brand and like the Embertry brand. Squadcast, I'm familiar with. Some of the others, not so much, but that's okay because I imagine that they have several different verticals that they're looking at. I love the immediate uh, uh, social credibility. There probably could be some other social credibility up here, even if it's like 4 out of 5 stars or 5 out of 5 stars or whatever. I also will say that design wise, like if you're gonna have like an image like this, like on the homepage, I would personally rather see it bigger. So I don't know if you remember like Dovetail, for example, or Optimal Workshop. We've looked at those sites before. I think showing like very large and in charge product works very well. There's another product that does this. I think it was Home Run on the site. I think it's Home Run. But yeah, like I personally would prefer an even larger like product section because I mean, if you're gonna show off product, you might as well like really show it off. You know what I mean? Looking at this right off the bat, I'm like, yep, this is gonna help me understand marketing attribution. And now we get into some of like the more specific parts of the product. So the first that this is gonna look at is ad ROI. This is interesting. So first, I really appreciate I love a really solid, just like stylized product image. Sometimes it doesn't actually help you to just showcase the product itself. And it's probably because like there's information in it that might be distracting, or you might want to like really highlight something specific. So what product designers will do, especially like, or maybe like a graphic designer on your team, whoever, but it could also be a product marketer who's influencing this decision making. But sometimes stylizing like a part of the product is enough to communicate the idea without just being like a pure screenshot. Sometimes the pure screenshots don't work as well. So I love a good, just stylized product marketing image or product image. We've got copy. We also have just like a quick Segmetrics integrates with. Now, I will say, looking at this, visually, I think there might be some changes I'd make to like typography. So like this header is very large, but this section, which I feel like is really important, is actually really small. I almost wonder if there's a way to make this more like visually apparent. And it could be as simple as like this section is in this box, but maybe you take away this box and give it some breathing room. I'm on a smaller screen. I think this is a 15-inch MacBook screen. I think 15. That might be wrong, but I do feel like there's important visual information here, and like the eye might just see it a little bit better if maybe like the layout itself, and also possibly the topography were a little different. But that said, visually speaking, this is still really nice. I still really like this. So right off the bat, I'm like, okay, I got it visually. Like if I don't read the whole thing, this is telling me just intuitively, this is going to optimize my ad ROI. I get it. With Segmetrics, you can discover which ads do and don't drive sales. Cool. Optimize your OS by focusing on ads with the best lifetime ROI, not just clicks. Cool. Feed accurate conversion data back to the ad platforms to improve targeting and scale your ads. Cool. Next, email funnels. Okay, this is interesting. So I see active campaign. This is so small. It was small above, but it's really small here. There is a layout that would make this really shine. I'm going to bet money that if I pulled this into my larger browser, I just want to see something. Just bear with me here. I just want to see if I were to pull this over. Okay. Do you see that okay? I think you do. Yeah, it probably changed aspect ratio a little bit. Um, okay, it doesn't get bigger. I was wondering if like maybe it's my screen size and it just needs to get bigger, but I see now that it's not. Yeah, it's still pretty small. I think we could probably improve the performance. I don't know how well this page performs, so I'll throw that out there. But I bet you we can improve conversion rates just by making it very clearly visual, like what's happening. Oh, plus 100 more. There are more integrations. That tracks, I think, for like a Segmetrics. That would make sense. Like you'd want to be able to integrate with as many things as possible, kind of like a data box. But yeah, I could definitely see that. Okay, so this does email performance um, tracking. Track the financial impact of every email and every funnel you send. I am extremely intrigued. I'm so intrigued. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to sign up. I'm so excited. Because we have a lot. We have a lot of automations and emails that are getting sent, and it's not just us. There's also the sales team, and we just expanded out our customer success team. So yeah, I would love to understand this. E-commerce sales, okay, less critical for us, but and also membership courses. Okay, yeah, this part is less critical for us, but because it integrates with Stripe, I'm going to assume that it could understand SaaS. Like it could understand like how does SaaS kind of get into this. And then membership courses. We don't have as much of this, but I it makes sense that Segmetrics would expand into this. Okay, so that makes me feel like Segmetrics is really for influencer type folks or brands where there are I don't want to say like media brands, but kind of like media brands almost. Media companies, like I feel like media companies would love something like this, but that are specifically led by some type of like influencer or thought leader or something to that effect. But I do also get the feeling of this is also for marketers and software companies, but just based off of the, again, like the social credibility and then um, the testimonials that they have here. Although Entreport might be a SaaS. I'm not sure if Entreport is a SaaS, but I see ConvertKit. I believe Ember Tribe is a SaaS, if I'm not mistaken, although it might be an agency. I'm not going to remember exactly what it is. But ConvertKit sounds like it's in that arena. Okay. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. I'm so intrigued. I'm so intrigued. Um, More social credibility. I like this at the top actually. Um, this feels like really impressive stats. I almost feel like this should be above the fold if you can get it there. And then it's your single source of truth for everything you need to know. There's all the stuff that we track. Cool. Ooh, this is pretty. So this is like filter your leads by any action or attribute. Yep. Stylized product imagery. Cool. Um, Syncs with the email marketing platform or CRM. Okay. Yeah. And then no more vulnerable third party cookies. Segmetrics first party cookies, server side tracking, and advanced lead fingerprinting allows us to reliably identify and track your visitors across. Okay. So interesting. So there's some IP proprietary stuff happening. Um, Very interesting. You get consistent and accurate data with each lead and don't have to worry about ad blockers, new privacy settings, silo data, or short attribution windows. I'm so intrigued. Keith, what you got in there? Sounds like there's some really smart things happening, which I'm excited about. Okay. Join 3,000 plus happy marketers and advertising agencies. Okay. I see more people I recognize. Brennan Dunn, ConvertKit. Uh, okay, yeah. Slidebean. Familiar with Slidebean? Okay, so there's some SaaS products. Ruben, I see Ruben from Signwell. Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to dig in and discover the untapped profits hiding in your marketing. Cool, cool, cool. I honestly like this is one of those products where I don't feel like I need to dig much deeper into learning about it. I mean, I am curious about the technical side about how this works, but I'm sure to some degree that's described in some of the marketing and like materials and etc. But let's just look at one of their landing pages. Oh, look at Rob. Yeah. We know this guy. We love this guy. Okay. Yeah. Look at this social cred above the eyebrow copy. That's cute. Um this, it's so funny. Like this automatically feels like a SaaS, like like a SaaS product now. Um cool. So do they integrate? I'm assuming that they integrate with like Stripe or something to that effect. Uh there's a user list. UserList just updated their brand, like their logo, and I'm so excited. I'm actually thinking about, depending on timing, I might actually sign up for UserList and give that one a shot because I feel like Benedict and uh, Jane. I was gonna say Joe. Jane. Joanna was on the first first page. Jane. I feel like they've just been quietly making UserList super badass. So I'm excited to take a look. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. Um, Interesting. Pricing is here. I am going to compare it to the other pricing page. How many active email subscribers do you have? I think it's like 20K. Okay. So $67 a month. That's so incredibly reasonable. That's very reasonable. There's essentials reporting, 100 plus integrations, unlimited users. So if I sign up for this, does it Okay, I'm looking at oh, you don't see it. Okay, when I hover over this, it does pop up the URL. Um, it does pop up the URL, and I'm curious if the type of plan changes. It looks like it does. Okay, so there are different funnels. There's a different URL for the launch versus the grow versus scale, it looks like. Yeah. They are all set to annual, but I bet you um Okay, annual equals Y versus annual equals is that N? So I'm assuming that when I click on these, this is a specific funnel that I'm going to go through. So I'm going to take a look at what that is. 67 per month is not bad, although I am curious what the grow plan, like what that actually has. So let's just go to the pricing page really quickly, see what that experience looks like. Okay, choose a plan that's right for your business. All plans are 100% risk free with our 14-day free trial. Are you an agency? Explore the benefits for agency partners. Cool. So another sliding scale. This sliding scale looks pretty good. I've used several, and I would say like this one is successful. This one looks good. There is a very simple monthly to annual toggle. What's really interesting is this monthly annual toggle. Now, Segmetrics is targeting SaaS slash like folks who understand like technology. It sounds like to some degree at least. Like if you know that you need attribution, you probably understand tech. Is what my assumption is. But what we found was this type of switch control. There's a very specific name for this type of control, and when it's filled in like this with the word in the actual pillbox, this actually is harder to understand than just having the text, with the toggle in between, and, like, the words are not the toggle, like, the control, like, actually exists between the 2 words. That is actually the best practice according to Baymard. However, this still is successful, so, but if we had a less technical audience, I would actually suggest changing it. I say this with experience because we're experiencing the same thing on our pricing page where we have a control that's like this, but people don't know that they can click it. I don't know, it's weird how, like, sometimes it's not as obvious that you can click something, but anyway, I digress. Yeah, I think, there's a lot of best practices here. We've got tool tips. I think visually this page could use a little bit of love. It feels, it's not quite white. I feel like it could be a little bit brighter. It's like a taupe color. I don't know what it is about, taupe, like, as a background. It's like a I don't know if you notice this, it's like a gray, but it does actually make things, like, weirdly harder to read. I don't know how to describe it, though. It's so specific. I do think that this text is a little small, and, I appreciate the check boxes. I do wish that they were green, but I do think, like, okay, so and this is another piece of feedback. This text is kind of far away from the very first checkboxes. This could, I think, be condensed quite a bit. So you could bring the text a little bit closer to like what the like result ultimately is, and we could make this a little bit bigger. It's a little hard to read, and this is also very hard to read. Like I'm tempted to reach and get my glasses, but I get the feeling that let's see, launch might actually be. I might be able to just do launch. I'm just gonna double check essential reporting. The data explorer is in the grow. Okay. Um, this feels like enough of a jump too that does feel like a pretty big jump. I'm so curious how many people are on each of these plans. If it's a relatively even spread, that's a good indicator of like these plans are like pretty specific to each audience. But if most people are on launch and they're not really upgrading to grow, and there's like a smattering of people on scale, that makes me feel like there's a tier either in between or this tier maybe needs to get optimized a little bit better. Or it could be the reverse. There might not be enough people on launch, but my guess is probably the opposite. But if it's like relatively balanced, then it probably is okay. But that is something that we tend to look for. Okay. Let's see. This seems good. I mean, yeah, I'm I'm hesitant to sign up for Grow if actually launch is what would do better for me. And I do see that they look like different funnels. Um, that's tough. Okay. I think launch might be okay. But I don't know. This is my dilemma. We're going to try it anyway. Okay. So this is the blue one. I'll click the blue one. Okay. Uh This is cool. So this looks like it's gonna be like a actual like, um it's gonna feel like a designed funnel. So right off the bat, everything is I don't know if you can probably yeah, you can see this. This is all concentrated, like, in this very specific, like, square in the middle of the page, and my first recommendation right off the bat is actually to give all of this more space because these are both visually competing with each other. Do you see how like I want to look to the left, but I'm also like there's stuff happening on the right, and I'm kind of like in between both. Visually speaking, I think this needs like breathing room and needs space. This also does feel like a little small. Like this, a lot of this text feels pretty small. It feels small on my screen. It feels pretty small on my screen. I'm looking over. Yeah, this looks small. Uh, it could definitely like we could like blow it up a little bit, give it a little bit more breathing room. I probably would center this whole section like on this like half of the page. Similarly, I might do the same thing on this side, maybe make it a little bit bigger, but I digress. It does kind of feel very compact, but in a way that feels kind of overwhelming visually. So, starting my free drive trial, yep, I see social cred, awesome. More social cred, a little bit of privacy, security statements, which is awesome, and then next steps. So, we're just going to go through the process. Demand Maven.io. Demand Maven. And then let's see. Do you see this? You don't. Cool. All of my password stuff. Oh, you know what? I think. Oh, this is funny. I actually have already signed up for Segmetrics. Okay, well, like let's do this. Okay, let's do this like with a different email address, and that way, I can still go through the process with y'all. But that is pretty funny because I definitely, definitely did this already, but I just didn't realize I did. Okay. Okay, so you saw the one pass pop up. Good to know. We're gonna get started now. Ah, okay. So this is a oh, what's it called? This is what we call opt out. So there are two types of sign up flows. There's opt in and then there's opt out. Opt in says we're not going to require a credit card. You're going to opt in to putting in your credit card, hopefully before the end of the 14-day trial or whatever the number is. Opt out is we're going to require a credit card. There probably is a trial. You won't get charged, but you're going to have to remember to opt out. So right off the bat, it's controversial because I don't want to say controversial. This works for very specific types of companies. And what I mean by work is it is more like funnel efficient. So it's only funnel efficient for certain types of companies, is what I want to say. Basically, what that means is when you do marketing, when you like focus on acquisition or even activation, uh, there's enough research that suggests that opt-in is actually more efficient because you ultimately increase your baseline and your volumes more, and like you see like up to 2 times more leads in general. And if your conversion rate on the back end is strong enough, then you'll in theory still see net more revenue. That's the hypothesis. However, the opposite is true for certain types of companies. So, um, with opt out, meaning like you require a credit card up front, the hypothesis there is that you see more revenue at the end of the day. And maybe like your net revenue retention is better. So, like your long term retention is better impacted when you require a credit card up front because um, uh, because like you're basically forcing these new trialists and users to ultimately like be committed before they come in and kick the tires. I don't know which one is technically better for Segmetrics. Usually what we find is companies and businesses that use like opt out. It's like there's something about the reason why that works for them is because of the context of the product, the context of who they're buying from, um, and like there's like a number of other things. And sometimes it works as well as it does, maybe because maybe marketing isn't as strong. Like there's a number of reasons why like this could like work extremely well. Similarly, the flip side could be true. It's very possible that like they've done opt-in before and it didn't work because it was a lot of tire kickers. But you have to compare the long-term network effects of opt-in versus opt-out. So, for example, like it's not enough just to look at 2 to 3 months worth of data. You also have to consider like 8 to 12 months because you might find that you have better NRR with one model versus another, strictly based on like the type of user that you acquired, like in that process. So, all that to say, I'm not knocking this, but I do think it's really interesting because I would assume my assumption, and maybe this is a bad assumption, but my assumption would be that like people who are coming into this are pretty serious anyway. Um, and now this is kind of making me like, well, crap. I'm interested in the grow plan. I don't want to forget. Well, that's kind of cool. I can like expand this. Yeah, sorry, I'm distracted. This is very small. It's really hard for me to read this. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm like, I'm kind of squinting. I'm gonna be honest. But uh, it wouldn't surprise me if they've tried, like, other funnels. We don't ultimately know how this performs, but yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they've kind of tried it all and, like, this is just the best thing for them. Although, what I was gonna say though was, yeah, like, I just don't wanna forget about this 212. So, with that said, I am going to, pull up my text messages. I did get a code. Hopefully, it hasn't expired because I was talking. Eh, oh goodness. Whoops. Yep. All right. Start trial. Pray for me. Pray for me that I do not forget that this is what's going to happen. Although, okay, so I will say there is probably something that could be done around making sure that people know that you are not going to charge them immediately. Okay, cool, went through. I think it's just a little slow because I'm like screen sharing. But we probably could add some copy just to relieve that anxiety of don't worry, we're gonna remind you things are gonna happen. Okay, so this is the first view. My first impression is we could do a number of things to simplify this a little bit. Um, so welcome to Segmetrics. This is what I would call it's not is it cognitive overload? It's a little bit of cognitive overload, but it's more design. I think that there's a lot happening. So we've got like this rocket ship, I can see my checklist of things that we're about to go through. Cool. There's like a border. I know that that's such a small thing, but I think you'd be shocked at how busy screens can get when you have like borders and layers and like blocks and things. And I feel like we could literally make this whole thing white and it would feel so much cleaner. The other thing too is if there's like any type of progress tracking, this is named, which I think is great. I probably would throw that at the top, but that's just me. And that way, like you can again just save visual real estate. But right off the bat, I'm like, oh, there's a lot going on. There's also like these design elements that we probably don't need. I think we could simplify this and make it still feel very sleek and like modern. But that's my very first, just like looking at this impression. Let's personalize your reporting experience. What type of products do you sell? SaaS. Part of your funnel you're looking to optimize. All of the above. um, Organic traffic and probably other because we do have partnerships. We're still tracking with UTM parameters, but there's a number of things. Um, ooh, I'm technically between these. So it's a fractional CMO role. I guess I'd probably say I'm like a team member. Not exactly, not like I'm not like a full-time employee, but I am similar to that. Okay, connect your contact data. This is cool. If I wanted to skip this, could I skip it? No. Oh, mind body. Interesting. That is interesting. Um, what would be low risk for me to connect? I will say for privacy purposes, I don't want to connect yet because I am sharing screen. Let's just see because if it makes me API credentials. Okay, yeah, no. I'll do this later. I'll probably do this off screen. But can I skip? I guess I could just continue. They probably don't want me to though. Okay, no. I just clicked it. It did not do anything. Okay, there probably yeah, there probably is like a I'd probably gray this out so people can't click it. Like they have to select something. What can I connect? Again, that would be low risk. Well, I guess oh, I clicked import data sources and I just moved on. Connect your data sources. Yeah, okay. So my first thought is people should have the option to skip a lot of this. And I understand why they're doing this. But my thinking is allow people to skip a lot of this stuff and then help me bypass, but like show me maybe not like an empty state, but like give me like an example or like a sample account or something like that. And then we've got to add web tracking, and then we've got to get started. I do think it's kind of wild that I can just kind of click through these. Keith. So here we're importing your data. Here's what to do next. You'll get an automatic email once your data is imported. Install your tracking pixel. Let us help you set up your reporting. Questions, reach out. That's interesting. I wonder if they are. That makes me feel like maybe they're targeting folks who are not so savvy, maybe, or like. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like this type of stuff is challenging. Um, but yeah, it makes me wonder like what type of persona they get. But I do like this. I like this. This is great. This is very I probably would split this up. So this page like I probably would before they get access to the product have like a pop-up happen that has the video and maybe like this type of information. But I do like the okay, like this is a very clear like here I do this and then I do this and then I do this. Um Okay. Oh, okay, I think I understand now. So, basically, we're like, Segmetrics won't show you anything unless you have connected all of your data. Like, you've gotta connect everything and get everything set up. Okay, 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 I got it. Um, hmm, I might set something up and then see because I still wanna know what it looks like. Um, but the process takes a while, sounds like. Oh, very interesting. That's very interesting. I wonder I mean, obviously it takes a while. I think from a experience perspective, I wonder if it's still possible to give people access to the back end, but make it very clear that like this data is still loading. So that way people still feel like something has happened and they're not just kind of like waiting on the back end. That could be something to think about. That could be, I think, possibly, I don't want to say it's a better experience, but I think that could be an interesting alternative experience where people still feel like they've made progress. Because right now, basically, what I'm getting from this is, you've got to connect everything, you've got to import everything all at once and add in like the web tracking. Fine, but then now you've got to wait for everything, and I just wonder if there's actually a way to like maybe I give you my information, I get access to the back end of it, then I connect everything from that instead of so this is basically like what I would consider to be like a wizard. So maybe instead of a wizard, I'd just get access to the product itself. I'd connect everything from the product, and then as everything is importing, there's all kinds of different ways that you could do this, but there's maybe data information that is like, hey, like this is still loading, it's still downloading. There's a product that kind of reminds me of this. I got to think about what it is. But it's one of those products where it does take a little bit of time to actually like get set up. So but they still give you access to everything like on the back end. They still give you access to everything on the back end. Even though it looks like empty, you can start to see it like fill up, so to speak, of stuff. Like eventually things like start like compiling in. I have to clear my throat really quick. Woo, okay. Coughing. Woo. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. How much time do I have? It's only been 38 minutes. Okay, and no viewers. All right. I'm just kidding. Uh It's been 38, 39 minutes. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna connect some stuff off screen. The one that I'm the most interested in is actually Active Campaign, but it is gonna require me to, like, do some extra stuff. So I'm going to do that off screen, just for a minute. And yeah, we're gonna see if we can do this and then hopefully get you something that is visually interesting. So I'm gonna open up Active Campaign. And if it doesn't make sense to share, I won't. Like if I feel like it's too sensitive, then I won't share it. Oh, sometimes my one pass does not activate. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so in the meantime, I'm gonna talk through like what I'm doing, but I'm also going to preach to the choir of K-pop demon hunters. Are you obsessed with it? Are your children obsessed with it? If the answer is yes, I feel you. I do not have kids, but me and my household, we are all obsessed very much with K-pop demon hunters right now. It's an affliction. But the music slaps. And they literally just had, I think, the VMAs or something, and they were nominated for the best summer song. I heard that they didn't win, and I was shook because everyone and their grandmother and their kids are all obsessed with this soundtrack, and not just girls either. Like everybody, boys and girls, are all obsessed, and it's like it's taken over. Okay, so I'm gonna connect to Active Campaign. So I don't know if you remember, but I needed to name it. Then I needed to get the API credentials, which I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Um, which bless because looking inside of Active Campaign, I am not sure where to go for that. Maybe probably integrations. I was gonna say there's managed data, but yeah, it's probably integrations. Maybe not actually. All right, we're gonna refer to the Active Campaign help article and click settings, developer option. Okay, that's what it is. Of course. Of course. Why didn't I think of that? Okay, so we've got the URL. And then we've got the key. The key. Connect Active Campaign. Active Campaign supports payment tracking, but depending on your payment platform, it may not be the best solution for you. If you would like to ignore payments from Active Campaign and use one of our other integrations instead, keep the toggle below off. I don't think we're doing payments. Pretty sure we're not actually. So we'll go ahead and get that connected. Okay. Okay, cute. Is that connected? It says import data sources. Although I'm not. Oh, this must be like. Well, wait, no, I'm actually confused now. I guess this is like additional data sources. Oh, you know what? Okay, I think I understand. I'm gonna share screen again because I think it's safe. And my camera just activated, so I'm gonna turn that off really quick. Or like it likes to, yeah, it likes to do this thing where it it like goes off script. uh, we're just gonna pull this up really quick, and I'm gonna make sure this doesn't look crazy. There we go. That's much better. Okay, cool. Okay, so what we're seeing is well, we are seeing so there's connect contact data, which yep, I already have an ESP connected. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so I already have basically it was like connect your main CRM is kind of the impression that I was getting, or it said ESP. I guess email service provider. Woo! I pulled that one out of thin air. I have not called it that in so long. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I just was like, is that what that is? Yeah, it's an ESP. It's just been a million bajillion years since I've called it that. And then now data sources. So I'm assuming that this is like, okay, I think I get it now. Now it's like, okay, you connected your main thing. Now connect all the other stuff. So like Google Ads, um, Let's see. You'll be forwarded to Google Ads for authentication. Let's see if this does the thing. Oh, it's gonna do it in this tab. Okay. Um, I'm gonna go back. I will do this later, actually. Uh, but yeah, it looks like I can connect. Now it says Facebook, but does it actually want Meta? I'm gonna assume that Facebook is the right thing here. Stripe, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay. I'm assuming that I would be able to connect everything, like pretty much like literally everything from here. They have a segment, another data source. Okay, I got you. Um, there's API, but then there's like I think what so my first question is do they have like database? Like is there a database that it can connect to? So like I guess nothing is striking me as like, "Oh, yep, this is the obvious thing to go and click." Okay, so in theory, like, yeah, I would ultimately select like a couple of other things, and then I'd move on. And then the web tracking. So this would be offering tree. It'll probably throw me a pixel. Okay, offeringtree.com. You don't need to add in subdomains. You can just add the root domain. Cute. We live for that. Yeah, because I didn't go through this process. Okay. Wow, that was so easy. Yeah, install your tracking pixel. Let us help you set up your reporting. Schedule your free training call. Okay. Yeah, I think that it's so interesting. I think my so if we're doing self-service, then yeah, ideally you would get access to a back end already. Like imagine getting access to the product now and then it might be an empty state, but you could still give it the feeling I wanna say Float does this really well, like, before you connect everything, it does look blank, but it still encourages you to, like, do the thing and, like, to take the steps. So that way it still feels like you've signed up for a product, but, and not like a service, which I guess technically it's software as a service. But it you still have that like, nope, this is a software, this is a platform. Um, and then you don't like, yeah, like you don't run the risk as much of people like losing people after this step. And that might actually be why they ask for payment data up front because they know that like, yep, it's gonna be a little while before like you actually get access to the product. So you might get distracted and you might just forget. I do think Databox is a good example, although I think Databox is very different, so their experience is very different. But I think, like, when I think about, like, a platform that has many integrations, I do think of Databox. I think they handle it pretty well. I don't love necessarily, like, the architecture behind Databox, meaning, like, data sources and, like, the way that you think about, like, those entities and how the pricing works. But I do think about, like, yeah, like, the way that they have that configured, I think is smart, and I think it makes sense because Segmetrics obviously is, um, like, their growth strategy probably depends a lot on how many integrations they have based on who they're targeting and yada, yada, yada. That and the quality of their data and how good it is and all that fun stuff. Okay. Well, I feel like this was another product where we couldn't really get, like, into it together, not without, like, some time, so apologies for that part. The other product that we tried was similar. I think it was Dovetail, where we couldn't really, like, make true progress without certain things, like, being configured. Like, I think for Dovetail, we had to convert like, we actually had to upgrade. Um, so all that to say, yeah, sorry about it, but it seems like that, it's a pretty could be pretty common. But anyway, if we are able to get access to Segmetrics, obviously, like, I'm happy to take everyone through it and, kind of show, like, what it looks like. But I was definitely curious, but this does make sense. It makes sense. I do think that there are probably opportunities, though, to create more, like not like anticipation, because I feel the anticipation now, but I think we could probably create better engagement by giving the back end. Oh, okay, I'm gonna stop sharing just because I wanna make sure that this is not, like, super sensitive data. What timing? What timing? This is th I could not have planned this better. I am gonna stop sharing though, just for a quick second. Okay, open my dashboard. Oh my goodness, I am so excited. And it didn't take that long. It didn't take that long. Um, okay. I am gonna share because this isn't scary at all. I'm just, like, worried about I just don't wanna share anything, like, too sensitive. Um, okay, let's do the thing. Screen, tab. Alright, look at this. It's pretty. Okay, I take back what I said. About the part where it was like, "Hey, we don't have access to the product. We have access to the product. This is cool." I just cleared out a box that popped up. Apologies, I didn't even read it. I'll be honest. I ain't gonna hold you. I immediately exited out. I have no idea what it was. So sorry. I should have waited. I do see like a little bit of like an overview. View all of your KPIs. Dashboards are a collection of KPIs about your marketing. They are great for spotting trends or picking up key issues. Cool. I just click the next button. Now what? Okay, I clicked the next button, but I don't know. It disappeared. Whoops. Okay, I see a couple of things. So first, I'm gonna make the same comment that I've made earlier. Some of these elements do feel pretty small. That feels so small. I don't even know. Like, can y'all see that? I can see it, but I want to get my glasses so bad. 0 out of 7 steps completed. So I can connect my email platform. I thought we did this. I thought we did that. I'm also curious, like, what are the other 7 steps? I'm gonna hide this. Okay. So I just noticed like when you hover, you get like a tooltip type vibe. So track website visitors and new contact growth channels. Yep. So acquisition, it's showing me my leads. I mean, so my impression is that this is going to take time to this is going to take a minute to like actually get the data going and flowing and doing the thing. That is so interesting though, how it like yeah, like we're gonna add in all the stuff. I'm not worried about this, but I do like generally this like the feeling of the platform. So this is what we call empty states, where the empty states are like, there are things that we can do design-wise with empty states, so, like, we could not find any data, for example. Now, is that true, or is it just we're still cooking up our analysis? I think, like, that's the type of stuff that I would make sure that when you have empty states in your product, you actually get very clear about is this an empty state or are we still like cooking, so to speak, in the background and like this is still loading? And that way people don't feel like it's broken, but they feel like something is still happening in the background. The other thing too would be show me an example of what the report would look like and then maybe still give me the feeling of like we're still working on it in the background, your data's still loading or something to that effect. And then that way when it's complete, it loads like the pretty like the actual real version and then people know they know what to expect in each block. I hope that that makes sense, but I think that that's a great example of here's how you can still give people the feeling of something is about to happen or this data is going to get better here soon. And it probably will. Like I'm going to guess like in 24 hours like this is going to look totally different. But before that loads properly, you can still give people the feeling of don't worry, things are coming and also it's going to look like this, generally speaking. So you can manage expectations. I'm a huge fan of managing expectations in a product. That is what we should be thinking about when people sign up and they try and they're new and they're like, I'm trying to understand like how these pieces work and how it's going to help me accomplish my goal. You want to manage their expectations, and if you can do that visually in app in product, do that. Do it. It's amazing because people like if I scroll down a little bit and I just see this makes me think it's broken, but I know it's not because I don't based on, like, what my experience just was just now, I think it's just loading still. But you can tell me that and then also give me like a visual for what it's gonna look like. Oh, I just noticed there are like little lighthouses. Is that a lighthouse? Okay, so this is the other thing about me. I love a little design flourish. So if you can add whimsy to your product, I am such a sucker for whimsy. I am such a sucker for whimsy. Okay, well, I think that's a little lighthouse. It's very faint. Yeah, the little lighthouse is back here. Okay, well, anyway, I digress. So, engagement. Yeah, this is email, is what I'm guessing. Mhm. And Data Studio dashboards, reports. So, the plan that I got is Explorer. I'm curious if I had done launch, would I get different calls to action? I'm also noticing like there's a lot of blank space here, and that makes me wonder, like there's no like, you've got 14 days left or 13 days left. Like there's no counter, I guess is what I'm really saying. Um they probably Segmetrics probably doesn't necessarily, well, it's opt-in or sorry, it's opt-out, so they probably don't wanna I guess, like, they should remind, though. I think it would be best practice to remind people. The worst thing in the world is having people convert by accident and then, like, now they've paid, but they didn't mean to pay, and then you've gotta, like, refund them, like, that sucks. So you could probably reduce refunds by just reminding people that their 14-day trial, um, has started, and you could give them, like, a countdown basically for every day, and you could make it, like, a color, um, give it some pizzazz. This, no new notifications. Okay. Latest updates. Yeah. Is this headway? I okay, cool. I like product update platforms like this, like little simple ones. Yeah, this is cool. Okay, cool. So they're pushing stuff. It's been a minute since February, but they're doing things. I can see my account. Let's look at the like upgrade. Are we technically already on upgrade? But I am curious like what this looks like. Please do not show my credit card data. Uh cool. So, okay. It's very gray. I will say that. If there was anything I would change, this feels it's very it's got a very gray ooh. Okay, this is a good example of whimsy. The confetti, that was a really that's a very cute example of whimsy. Okay, welcome to Segmetrics. Take 10 minutes. I'm not gonna do this actually. I want to, but I won't. But just because of timing and then also I think like design wise, it does feel very gray. One thing that I highly recommend product designers think about is how do you create enough visual contrast so that way people get in and get out very quickly. I think a lot of us think that the longer someone spends in our product, that that's a good thing, and I think that there are some products that is very true, but there are other products where that is decidedly not true, and, like, the longer that someone spends in your product is not an indicator of value. Sometimes it's an indicator of frustration because someone can't figure something out, something is slow, uh, and it might sound so surprising, but even, visual design absolutely impacts how quickly people get information, how they perceive it, how they receive it, how they, like, parse through it, and I think this type of, like, when product design is very, flat or, like not flat, flat is not a fair word, I think it's more like, when it is both neutral and, there's not as much visual hierarchy or there's not as much contrast, it's actually really hard for people to see, like, literally see the thing that they're supposed to do next. So when we have, like, a lot of gray, that actually is hard on the eye to see. So this is where, like, you might as well just switch to white because 'cause you'll have better contrast and people will be able to, like, see things quicker. Um, they're also I think we could, like, modernize the look and feel of Segmetrics a little bit more. I think that there are, like, really simple, small things that could be tweaked or adjusted in the UI to give it more of, like, a modern feel. I don't think that's a deal breaker, but I think that would probably give people a little bit more, like, of the feeling that like, oh, okay, like this is more like cutting edge. It seems like they're doing stuff that's like way different than what most other people are doing. But you could give it more visual contrast. What's funny to me though is like the launcher here does have pretty good visual contrast. I'd like to see that, like this like bright blue on top of this dark like blue color. Like I'd like to see that in other parts of the product. But anyway, that's just like a small thing. Um, okay, well that was cool. I am gonna continue to play with this because I actually do like have a use case for it. But yeah, I'd love to hear more thoughts about like what did you guys think about Segmetrics? And then also if you have any other products that you'd like for me to try and sign up for, please let me know. I am super open to suggestions. This was cool. I'm definitely gonna continue playing around with this. I'm excited to see it continue to like load data and like do the thing. Um, but in the meantime, thanks again for watching. And yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on how it goes, of course. I'm glad we were actually able to look at it because I think if we were just talking about it in theory, very different obviously than like actually looking at it. But no, this is cool. All right. Bye guys.